Mr. Lamborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing, and I want to thank all the witnesses for being here today. Mr. Paxton, I'd like to discuss the Navy's submarine industrial base with you. As you know, the plan is to produce 1 Columbia-class and 2 Virginia-class submarines per year at Electric Boat and Newport News. The Columbia program has very little, if any, margin for error, as it needs to start coming online in October 2030 to replace the current Ohio-class submarines that will begin retiring in fiscal year 2027. This is a massive task for our shipbuilders. A recent GAO report found that after more than a year of full-scale construction on the first Columbia, shipbuilders are facing delays because of challenges with design, materials, and quality. The GAO report also questioned the plan to add staff to Columbia from Virginia, since they assess there is not sufficient long-term planning for shared risks between the programs. Can you share your views on this challenge with the committee, specifically the workforce and material availability issues that are already plaguing this no-fail program?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman. Tough question. I will say that.
And could you put the microphone closer?
Sorry.
To you?
Sorry, Congressman. Yeah, I will say that, unfortunately, as a representative of the Trade Association, I don't have a lot of visibility into the specific programs. That would probably be more of a question for the vendor to kind of dig into some of those really technical issues, probably some classified issues as well. I will say that the industry is certainly up for the challenge. We are hiring rapidly. I know Electric Boat has been one of the top hires in that area for that program. But as for the specifics of what's going on there, sir, I apologize. I don't think I can really get into much granular, detail.
Okay, well, we'll certainly be pursuing that with some of the other folks you mentioned in the near future. And Mr. Fanning, I have more of a general question for you. The last time we met, we had a great discussion about the need to build and expand the defense industrial base workforce and talent pipeline. It's always a challenge, and there's a challenge sometimes because industry has different pay scales, maybe than government service. How can the defense industry better recruit and retain workers, and how do we deconflict these efforts between government and industry to ensure adequate staffing?
Thank you for that question. Workforce is the single most important issue for our industry and many other industries, I'm sure. And that was before COVID, before inflation, before the surge that we're going through right now. I think there are a number of things that we could do in the near term. It's harder for our industry in a number of ways. One, we can't work from home in most of the jobs. Two, a number of them are cleared. The security clearance process, and I've been talking about this, or I've been a part of conversations for 30 years since I used to work on the HASC staff on this issue, but we've got to do something about that because it's increasingly difficult to get a workforce on the national security side. Also with inflation, not just with technological development on the commercial side over time, but with inflation, there's a growing divide between what we can pay on the defense side and what they can pay on the commercial side. The Department of Defense requires some pretty strict definitions, requirements for the workforce that don't necessarily align with what we think we need and what we can hire from the outside. So there's no single silver bullet for this, and in fact, I think if we don't get at it for the country as a whole, we're going to continue to have problems in the defense industrial base.
Well, we're going to certainly need the help of all of the people in your association. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.